Let's talk about reading today. So, as you might know, I've been reading a lot lately. Actually, I've always enjoyed reading, but I don't know, during the past decade or so, I just didn't read that much. But during the past few months, I've actually read more than 10 books a month, which is crazy. Now let's talk about it. How has it affected my life? Why am I doing this? How do I think reading can impact your life? And why do I think that is like the perfect, slow living, simple living, even minimalist and sustainable hobby to maybe pick up or spend more time with? So I think an obvious thing is that reading can just be fun. And in this video, I'm more so talking about reading as a hobby. So not really reading to learn necessarily, or actually especially not like learning for a degree or for school, but not more so learning for yourself or just having a good time while enjoying a good story. So I think it's kind of self-explanatory that reading can be fun. We can learn new things, as I said, but also just dive into a different universe, follow the story of a person, see their emotions, follow them as they make decisions, and just kind of also learn something about different perspectives on life. And I think that is wonderful in itself, but then reading is not the only tool to achieve that, right? We can talk to other people, we can listen to audiobooks, which for some people is still considered reading. We can watch TV shows or movies, and we can also spend our time on social media. And what is really important to me here is that I do not want to say that reading per se is better or makes you more intelligent or just makes you a better person. But I do think reading in some ways has had advantages for me, and I want to share these with you. So while I know that for some people it's kind of hard to have the focus and the attention to read, for me, it's the other way around. Like, with reading, I've experienced that it's so much easier to kind of stay there and focus on this piece and not be bored. So in the past few years, I've watched a lot of videos either on YouTube or just watched TV shows on Netflix, and I enjoy that a lot, and I still do it, and I'm still gonna do it in the future. And I still think it's a great thing to spend your time watching like good video material, no matter if it's movies or YouTube videos or TV shows. But sometimes, even if I was interested in them, even if I wanted to watch them, even if they were entertaining and I wanted to, stick them out until the end, I got bored while watching them. I was easily distracted. I was like needing to rewind or I don't know, watch them again like a huge part, or forgot about them, or was just incredibly bored while watching them and was thinking like, oh, what am I doing with my time here? And when I read, it's not like that. Usually it's way, way easier for me to stay focused, to keep reading. And I think one big part of it is because I can choose the speed. Like when I watch something on Netflix or on YouTube, sometimes I speed it up a little bit to not get distracted or to not be as bored. But then that also kind of takes away from the video, because then music doesn't sound right anymore and voices sound weird. But it's just the only thing I can do to kind of not be distracted and bored. But when I read, that doesn't change, right? I can choose the speed. I can reread a sentence if I need to. I can read very slowly, but I can also read very fast. And that just kind of really helps me to stay in the story and to not feel like I'm wasting a single second. Another thing that I realized a few months ago, actually, when I was riding my bike home from like my social work workplace, I realized that there's a misconception, at least in my brain, but maybe in yours as well. So I thought that reading a book is such a huge project, that it takes you a week or a month to read a book, while a TV show, it's normal to like watch a season, to maybe even binge watch a season in a matter of 24 hours, a weekend, or at least like a week. In a week, you're done with a season of a TV show if you're watching it alone, maybe. And then I realized that the time I spend watching a season of a TV show, or especially I'm watching a lot of K-drama, so to watch a K-drama, they're usually like 50 to 20 hours of footage. And I don't need that much time to read a book. So why was I thinking that reading a book is a bigger project, takes a lot more time than watching a TV show? And when I realized that kind of just opened the gates to me reading books in 24 to 48 hours because I realized it's not that much. You do not need to take breaks and only read 30 minutes and read this book in a month. Like, no, you can just read it. Another difference that I realized exists between reading a book and watching a TV show, or also kind of just spending time online, is that after reading a book, I always feel good. Like, I feel rested, I feel relaxed, I feel inspired, I feel just good because maybe it was a good story to read. And that sometimes also happens when I watch YouTube videos, especially, and a bit less when I watch TV show, and even less when I'm just spending time on social media. Like, the reasons can be various things, and I think one of them is that it's just scientifically proven that reading is de-stressing. Like, reading lowers stress levels and can be very enjoyable, while being online and on social media and choosing what to watch next, or just being confronted with a new piece of media every few seconds, does not have the same effect. Social media and a book are maybe not the only things to compare. Yes, you can get a lot of fun and enjoyment and inspiration from a TV show, so I'm not saying a book is necessarily better. For me, it just has a reliable, positive effect, and that is something I take. Another thing I realized, especially after now spending a few months of really reading more, is that reading more just for my enjoyment, just when I feel like it, just because I want to, easy literature, sometimes a bit more complicated, but mostly just like, novels, things that I just enjoy reading, it still helps me to focus better on other more difficult things. So no matter if it's like my bookkeeping or if it's like reading papers for a course that I'm doing with my work right now, like scientific papers, I always hated reading them, and I still think it's sometimes hard to keep focused, but it's way easier now to keep this focus for longer than it was a few years ago. And what I'm getting from that, and what I think is really true, and I see it in many different areas of my life, that spending more time reading and kind of practicing this focus, also maybe just focusing on reading, on like capturing information in this way, helps me then to do it in other areas of life, because that's a part that we cannot forget when you talk about reading. Reading is essential for so many parts of life, and yes, you can live without being able to read, and yes, you can live an absolutely great life without being able to read like easily or fast. And I'm absolutely not talking about reading super fast in this whole video. It's not about like reading faster or more efficient. It's just the practice of reading, spending time with reading and decoding these symbols into imaginations and worlds and words and understanding and language. I think that helps me being focused without it feeling like work. And then I benefit from this exact thing when I'm doing things that are usually hard to do, because I just have this little bit of extra focus. Feels like I have it for free because I just read for fun, right? So that is definitely also a benefit that I've been experiencing during the past few months. And then I also kind of want to bring a more political aspect into this whole thing, which is the way I read. So I've finally gotten a library card, and I talked about that in my in and out videos, and I think that's amazing, and I'm so glad I finally did it, because that makes me read more. Why? Because I have like access to more different books almost for free, but also it kind of a little bit like gamifies this reading experience, because I know I just have a certain amount of time until I need to bring back my books again. And I often go to the library with my son, and he also borrows books. And so we kind of see if one of us is done, we might go to the library again and bring back the books we've already read. And so just this little aspect of knowing that I have limited time to finish the book helps me actually read more. But also libraries in general. I'm just a huge fan of libraries for different reasons. I think one of them, as I just said, it helps me read more, and it's an easy access for me just to have many books. But I think when we talk about these topics that are supposed to make our lives better, we often just talk about the individual parts, about the individual perspective, and not the political like one that involves all the people in our society. And I think libraries there are a huge advantage, an amazing thing, because I think, I'm not sure how the prices are in different like countries to have a library card and borrow books, and how the fines are if you don't return the books. But it's way, way cheaper than any kind of like Netflix, Amazon Prime, thing like that, like Disney Plus, whatever you have. And for children, it's even free here, which kind of makes books and stories and free learning and entertainment accessible to children. And even though I'm not a child anymore, it still makes it way more accessible. And I mean, libraries do not have only books, they also have video games and DVDs, and they have magazines, and they have internet access, which is actually completely free. So public libraries are this kind of third place, are this free place where you can spend time. And that's a really rare thing nowadays. And I think it's amazing that they exist, and I think they should be supported. While they're mostly supported by tax money, I still think like promoting them and using them is a good thing. Because I can do copies at my library, I can use the internet, I can spend time and read books and go to the toilet and rent books. And I can also kind of ask them to carry new books in their catalog. Like here in my city, it's possible to just tell them like, I want to have this book. And I think they are going to review it. Like they're not going to get every single book, but at least if a few people say like they would want a certain book in the library, they're maybe going to get it. And I think that's amazing as well. And to look at it from a bit of a different viewpoint, libraries are something like one of the structures that exist in our world today that are not just like focused on the capitalist system, because they're for the people. They're not there to make profit. They're not there to exploit anyone. They're just a place where people can get access to knowledge and entertainment for very little money, and it doesn't have to, like, it doesn't follow algorithms that make you spend more time, spend more money, things like that. So it's kind of like a counterweight to corporations like Netflix and even YouTube with all the advertisement. And so this is just a place where I want to say libraries are amazing, and I can just highly recommend you check out your library and maybe get into reading more again, or even borrow DVDs and video games and magazines, or just spend some time there using the Wi-Fi, and I don't know. So to conclude everything, I just think reading is an amazing way to spend time, because it helps me learn things, it helps me have fun, it helps me understand different perspectives, and it's very, very easy accessible for me and for most people in our society. And I think most hobbies are not that way. And therefore, I just think you kind of never lose anything by spending your time reading, but you can gain a lot of things. And as I said before, there are also a lot of reasons to spend your time watching TV, or to spend your time being outside, to spend your time with people. But I think reading can also be a really, really good thing to do. So let me know what you think about reading. Let me know if you want to hear more about reading on this channel. And if you want to know more about the specific books I read, I can highly recommend you check out the in and out videos, because there I always talk about the books I've read in that month. I'm going to link the playlist up here for you. And now, or I'm actually just going to link it here for you as well. And that is the end of the video. So thank you for watching, and also thank you to everyone who's on my Patreon. And also, I just want to thank you if you're watching this video until now, because that also really helps out this channel, and I do hope to see you here in this playlist or in my next video. Goodbye.